All right, before the holidays, we learned how to divide by two-digit numbers. But I know you didn't spend your holiday practicing division by two-digit numbers. So I think it's a good idea for us to go back over it today to refresh your memory on what you have to do. And again, what you always have to do with any division is use, does McDonald's constantly sell cheeseburgers? Which really means divide, then multiply, check if too big, subtract, check if too small, and bring down. And again, we did this process when we were dividing by one-digit numbers, and also when we were dividing by two-digit multiple of 10 numbers. But it's a little bit more difficult when you divide by a two-digit number that's not a multiple of 10. Like, for example, if I was dividing 72 into 13,139. Again, the first thing is the divide part, and that's the hard part, because division is the opposite of multiplication. So when you divide, you're saying what times the number equals something else. Well, it's foolish to say what times 72 equals 13,139 because you don't know that. As a matter of fact, you don't know a 72 times table at all. But what you do know is 72 is close to 70. And you do know the 70 times table is the same as the 7 times table with a 0 added behind it. So instead of dividing by 72, which you don't know, divide by 7, which you do know. And again, don't say what times 7 equals 13,139 because you don't know that either. So instead of dividing 7 into 13,139, divide 7 into 13. And again, the way you can remember this is it's always the front into the front. And if you divide the front into the front, that's easy. Because what times 7 is equal to 13? Everybody knows that. That's 1. Now, if I was dividing 7 into 13, I'd put the 1 on top of the 3. But the number's really not 7, it's really 72. So I have that extra place. So because of the extra place, I'm going to move back and put the 1 on top of the 1. And again, I divide by 7, but I multiply by 72. Which means I start with 1 times 2 is 2, 1 times 7 is 7. Now I have to check if too big. And again, to check if too big, I have to be able to subtract or else I guess too big. 72 is less than 131, so I can subtract, so I didn't guess too big. So now I subtract. If I borrow from the 3 and make it a 2, 11 minus 2 is 9. 1 minus 2 is, 12 minus 7 is 5. And then I have to check if too small. By the way, this is the tricky one. This is the one that most people, when they guess wrong. Because they just say, oh, I didn't guess too small without really checking it. Maybe they don't know how to check it. Okay, but you don't just say you didn't guess too small. You make sure your remainder is less than your divisor. 59 is less than 72, so I didn't guess too small, so I can bring down the 3. And now I'm going to do the same process again. Again, start back with the divide, but not 72 and 593. You don't know that. But you do know what times 7 equals 59, or you should if you know your 7 times table. What times 7 equals 59? 8. And then you multiply. And again, you divide it by 7, but you're not going to multiply by 7, you're going to multiply by 72. So we start with 8 times 2 is 16, carry your 1. 8 times 7 is 56, and 1 is 57. And again, now I have to check if too big. Is 576 less than 593? Yes. Can I subtract? Yes. So I didn't guess too big. If I borrow from the 9 and make it an 8, 13 minus 6 is 7, and 8 minus 7 is 1. Did I guess too little? Again, don't just say you didn't guess too small. Check. 17 is less than 72, so I didn't guess too small, so I can bring down the 9. And once again, I go back to the top and divide. And what do I divide? Not 72 and 179, but 7 into 17. And what times 7 equals 17, or closest without going over? 2. And again, 2 times 2 is 4, and 2 times 7 is 14. Did I guess too big? No, because I can subtract. 9 minus 4 is 5. 7 minus 4 is 3. Did I guess too small? No. 35 is less than 72. So now I have nothing left to bring down, so now I write my remainder as a fraction, 35 over 72. And again, if it can be simplified, you can get bonus points. But this one cannot be simplified, so that is the correct answer. And again, dividing by a 2-digit number is the same method as dividing by a 1-digit number. But the trick is divide the front into the front instead of the whole thing into the whole thing. 7 into 13 is much easier than 72 into 131. 7 into 500 into 59 is much easier than 7 into 72 into 593. So if you divide the front into the front, then you'll get a better guess. By the way, it's still just a guess. It's an estimate because you're rounding 72 to 70. And that means you're going to make wrong guesses. And that's why it becomes so important to constantly cheese. Check if too big, check if too small. Because if you guess wrong and you don't know you guessed wrong, then you get a big mess. So if you take your time and you go one step at a time, this is not hard. I hope that helps you remember what we were doing before the holidays, which will help you do your homework for tonight. Thank you.